talk of the freedom of writing, speaking, or thinking, I cannot choose but laugh. No such thing ever existed, no such thing now exists, but I hope it will exist. But it must be hundreds of years after you and I shall write and speak no more. John Adams. The Constitution shall never be construed to prevent the people of the United States who are peaceable citizens from keeping their own arms. Samuel Adams. Good evening for a late episode, and let me adjust my speaker levels. That's fine. All right, good. Now, there's just a lot of stuff going on. Look, no one likes anyone to get killed. No one likes anyone's rights to be taken away, right? But there's just a lot to talk about. And I think probably the most important thing for me is just talking about it, really, because we're going to be in that predicament where we're not going to be allowed to talk about it. And no one talks about the elephant in the room. I mean, a lot of people, probably there are certain people who are very big into conspiracies. And they go, you know what? It's first thing that happens when there's a mass shooting. It's a conspiracy theory. It's a psyop. I tend to agree with them. It's their right. And you know what? It should be that way. They should be talking about, hey, let's investigate this and not just let the government investigate it for us. No, don't let the mainstream media investigate it. Let's have anyone who wants to investigate it. And what we end up seeing is, no. Ordinary citizens, you cannot investigate it. You have no authority. You have no right. And leave it up to government. We're the authority. Leave it up to mainstream media. We're the free press. And we're all going, really? What? And then they go, well, especially if you're the ones who are talking about this as being a conspiracy theory, you guys are terrorists. It's like, when did this happen? And then the one who's saying this is your president, Donald Trump. I mean, I don't know how more asleep you can be to not think about that. And let's look over at let's see, chat. Okay, blah blah blah. Rights, blah blah blah. Plain truth. Anton, where's a kilt? Mao took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Hitler took the guns. Anyone touches the second A, 1776 will commence again. I think that's a good thing. There are people who are willing to die for freedom, and the ones who don't want to die for freedom want to live as a slave. And if you want to live as a slave, well, you don't tell someone who's free how to live their lives. So you best want to be dying for something. Hopefully that's not your own slavery. And our grandparents, great grandparents, whatever you want to call them, our ancestors, they died to fight for the freedoms you now have. And if you want to neglect that, well, they just died in vain. And for your children and your descendants, great descendants, for however long down the line, if you want them to stay free and you don't fight for it now, they're going to have to fight it for themselves and for their descendants. And their sons and daughters are going to have to die for freedoms that you have and are taking for granted. But let's not even go there yet. And let me adjust something here. Let's see. And as always, if you look in the description box, you may come in and participate. I messed up. I thought I had it on the wrong thing. There we go. So in the description box, while I'm adjusting this, you can join in on the conversation, talk about it, what your thoughts are. But otherwise, I just keep going. All right. Now, what's interesting to me is when you read the Bill of Rights, and please read the Bill of Rights, read the Declaration of Independence. When you read the Bill of Rights, there's no other amendment ever. Look at all the amendments, none except for the first two, where they make sure to explicitly state, shall make no law in the First Amendment and shall not be infringed in the Second Amendment. I mean, I guess you could say Amendment 4 shall not be violated, but still, it's more about the law of being changed, of anything regarding establishment of religion, freedom of speech, right to peacefully assemble, petition the government for redress of grievances, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Both these are very important: freedom of speech and freedom of arms. And that's what allows people to be free, to say whatever they want, think whatever they want, and to protect themselves with whatever means possible. And especially against the government who wants to infringe on any of these rights that are given to the people who live in the United States. And for those of you who are into the looking into the conspiracy theories, whether it's through the New World Order, you know, if you're just on that beginning path of the occult and esoteric, well, one thing that the world over does not have, this entire earth, this entire plane, planet, whatever you want to call it, there's no other country that is as free as the United States of America, as much as they've been taught to believe that they are free, that they've been indoctrinated within the history of the founding fathers, of the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution of the United States. All of that has been driven within us as citizens of the United States of America, that we are Americans and that we are free, and that all of our rights shall not be taken away from us. And that's not the government's job to do. And if you even look at the quotes of the founding fathers, whether you believe in the written history or not, it's written there, it's provided to us. It's the great, I guess, experiment, the test, whether we just go ahead and submit to authority, give away our freedoms, don't fight about it. Plenty of people who are willing to fight, yell, whatever, to take away your rights, and they don't expect you to fight or yell back. That's probably their mistake. But there's going to come a time where you're going to have to fight and stand your ground. Otherwise, you're just going to roll over. And that's it. And the people who have been slaves within the United States of America, as much as their descendants in the history, again, that was written and that we've been indoctrinated to study within the educational system that's provided for us within the United States, that every citizen pretty much has learned in school, whether public or private. There has been slavery in the United States, and to submit you and your family and your descendants to be a slave, but more of a voluntary slave, not like cuffed in chains type of slave. I mean, it's not like you can do anything about it when your rights are already taken away. You can't say anything because then everyone's saying, oh, it's against the law. The authority have the right to make sure you can't say or think or set in our way, all this other stuff. And then you go, well, we've got the Second Amendment. Well, they took away your Second Amendment, so what are you going to fight them with? Rocks? Scissors? Paper? You know, is that what you're going to do? It's like, hey, I got scissors. It's like, government's got rocks. And they got bullets. They got whatever. And it's to the point where, all right, let's call the government's bluff. I mean, I'd say if people are really paying attention, and if these polls of people who look in 2016, the approval rate for Congress was 11%. It was horribly low. Nobody trusts people in government, especially those in the Congress. President approval rates have always been low, whoever was president. And I just say, look, if if it's that low, then do you ever wonder why they keep getting reelected? 2016, I think the House of Representatives, the rate of incumbent reelection was at 92%, and maybe I think it was the Senate was at 96%, while the approval rating was at 11%. That doesn't make sense, does it? Yet, you know, all you can probably ask people is like, hey, do you feel, you could ask anyone, left or right, but, you know, we're going to create a new duality. We're going to create an inside-outside. They want left and right. What we see is an insiders, a bunch of insiders, pretty much people who are in that club and you ain't in it, against everyone else. And so everyone else on the outside, well, forget the left and right. We're seeing it on the inside and outside. And the outside is just going to just squeeze out the inside until there is no inside outside. We're all one. And that's pretty much it. I mean, if we can't figure this out, no one's going to ever figure it out, because we're the last country on earth that has the freedoms that we possess. We're about as free as we can be. And we're going, well, no, I guess we should probably limit our freedoms because it's dangerous, you know. Again, if you want to go and look at data, you could probably go, hey, you know, for very, very, you know, not just even, I mean, I'm not even regarding whatever statistics this is from, this worldpopulationreview.com, whatever this gets it from, like, it doesn't even take into account of mass shooting by cops, which is quite often a lot, death killings by police officers, mostly gun-related deaths. It doesn't account for, hey, this could have been a psyop. We can't look into it because, well, we're cock blocked, whatever you want to call it. Yet, I'm pretty sure they factored all these in. In the United States, death rate per 1 million, even though we have 329 million, it's still 0.89. Norway, Serbia, and France have very, very strict gun laws, yet, you know what? They're still at least double or triple. Actually, they're at least triple, if not quadruple. And Norway, amazing amount of people who died, death rate per 1 million from mass shootings. So even then, it's not very much. And you can look at the firearms regulation in Norway, Serbia gun laws, France gun laws. They're going to state the same thing. But people don't want to pay attention to that. People are dying. People die every day. Most people who die are going to be through cancer. And it's just the hidden deaths. It's not sensationalized. You know, the medical fatalities within the United States, which should be the best, right? It's pretty much the worst. So whatever it is that people want to argue against, let's argue about it. And that's the great thing about the United States. We had the First Amendment. Regardless of whether you take the other side, for me, that is fine. That is your right. And, you know, I'm going to have my own rights to say whatever I want. You may disagree with me. Hey, that's your right too. My rights to say whatever I want to say. Now, when one side starts to say, hey, you can't think that way or talk that way, that's when you should probably move out of the country to establish your own little debate within some other parameters. Because look, in the United States, it's one of the things we cherish. One of the things that I will fully support is the First Amendment. Second Amendment, I will fully support. You know what? I will pretty much fully support the entire Bill of Rights, the foundation of freedoms provided to the citizens within the country. And that was the whole point of it, is to provide no meddling of government into the rights and freedoms of the individual. Okay, let me switch back to chat. I mean, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. So it's not much of a long video, but let's see what people are talking about, I guess. We need critical thinking. They're going to take you guns have been going on for a while. Yeah, they have. I mean, until they take it, it's just a waiting game. It's in the Constitution, and those threats are just threats to strip their bases and ends up selling more guns. Yeah, it seems to have the opposite effect. And it actually probably breeds more contempt and hatred, more left-right, division. It's like, I'm going to keep my guns no matter what. It's like, I'm going to take away your guns no matter what. It's like, over my dead body, over your dead body it is. This whole argument is like, dude, what are you guys talking about? You're talking about taking away stuff from someone else and you're going to kill them to do that? I mean, that is a little out there. Okay, the majority agree we should have gun safety and then make it legal for machine guns and Stinger missiles. Wow, Stinger missiles would be pretty cool. Actually, I don't know. I really like Stinger missiles. I would say, hey, if I want Stinger missiles, I'll take Stinger missiles. I'll take 2. But you know what? They cost millions of dollars. We're not going to own Stinger missiles. I barely have enough to buy a pack of 9mm ammo, so Stinger missiles, yeah, right. The military is not worried about our guns. They have weapons and technology from years and billions spent on research. No, the military is worried. You know why the military is worried? Because the military don't want to kill their brethren. They don't want to kill their countrymen. They don't want to kill moms, fathers, sons, and daughters. I mean, they're fine killing outside the country. Some of them actually aren't. Most of them actually aren't. But to kill people within your own country? Yeah, I don't think so. Let's see. Also, when push comes to shove, the militias are scared. Nah, militias are not scared. Cowards and give up fast. Blackstone media reported on this. No one's going to report on someone defending themselves from someone else, like authorities taking away their guns. And right now we're pretty resilient, the militia. We feel as though, yeah, you're taking it away, or you're saying you're taking it away, but no one's taking anything away yet. Everyone's pretty much waiting. Everyone who has a gun in the United States, who's pretty much staunch defenders of the Constitution, they're gonna say, look, we're waiting for you to try and take our guns. Once you try to do that, we know that the revolution started. That's it. Try to take our guns, it's war. You're not supposed to do that. You weren't ever supposed to do that. You weren't even supposed to even make a law of it, and you made a law of it, and now we're just waiting for you to execute on that, and we'll see what happens. And that's pretty much all it is. It's a waiting game. Port film co-op, Asians need to speak up more. LA riots, Rift Koreans, discrimination, however, just because they work hard and have good values. Yeah, people don't realize in the LA riots, back I forgot when it was. I talked about it before, but most of the small store owners were owned by Koreans, and they had shotguns. The ones that had shotguns and stuff like that, whose stores didn't burn down? Yeah, those ones. Because the cops weren't going to do anything to stop that riot. But, the Koreans and small gun owners in Koreatown, they're outside with their guns saying, yeah, if you want to break a glass here, we're going to pull something called a trigger. And you know what? They didn't break their stuff. Shirley Vick, hey, Bon Kim, they have not been following the Constitution, Bill of Rights, and a slew of other things Obama removed habeas corpus. Yes, they have. But you know what? It's when people are, I guess they're exposed to it, when they're really experiencing it, right? I mean, it's not like I'm gonna say, hey, my liberties are being taken away, therefore war. It's like they go, hey, Ebon, what liberties did they take away? Well, they say that they're taking away. Well, they're saying that they're taking away is not them taking it away. So that's another thing. As people are, I will agree with we need critical thinking. People are just going a little bit too crazy. They say a lot of things. Yeah, there are a lot of legislative stuff that they've taken away. Which they weren't supposed to do, but we're still just waiting for them to act on it. It's like, hey, let's do something to this fella because we took away their liberties, and let's see what that person does, and then we'll see what happens. And there'll be I mean, do they really want to go that far for just normal Joe, right? It's like Ebon. Hey, let's go get Ebon. He's just a little thorn in a big thorn. I mean, he's got like 2 viewers right now. I mean, people listening to him. Oh man, that's just horrible. Like, they're not gonna care. They're mostly gonna want to use that against people who are the power players within their little game. Obama. I wouldn't say Obama expanded gun rights, but Trump limited the bump stocks. That's for sure. With technology, our government whores. What makes you think that they have to kill them to stop them? I don't know what that means. Port film co-op. Asians need guns more than anyone. 92-ish. I don't know. Yeah, in around 92. Was that? I forgot what that was. When that was. Surely Vic experienced my arse. And so that's it. Does anyone want to talk about anything else? If you want to come on in, please feel free to come on in, and I should probably double check to make sure there's a chime. All right, good. Now, what's interesting is they're talking about red flag laws. And what red flag laws are is pretty much saying, hey, this individual thinks that some other individual shouldn't have a gun or rights. Let's just do a blanket statement, not just gun, just rights. This person shouldn't be talking, saying what he wants. This person shouldn't be protesting, shouldn't be petitioning, shouldn't be owning a gun, shouldn't be whatever, right? It's just like this person is mentally ill. How this person determines you're mentally ill, that's another thing. But they're just saying, hey, I have a feeling this guy, my brother-in-law, whatever, is mentally ill. I don't think he should have a gun. He's got lots of guns. And they go, okay, we'll take that into consideration. And next thing you know, government, someone says, cops come maybe, I don't know, FBI. They go, hey, someone says you shouldn't have guns, and it's not just the government, and we assess the situation, and yeah, you shouldn't have guns, so give us your guns. So that's kind of what red flag laws are, but it's going to be dumb implementing it. It's like someone's going to go, okay, here, let me get my guns for you. I don't think anyone's going to relinquish their guns. So what's going to have to happen is, whether it's court ordered or not, the armed forces, whether it's police or military, they're going to have to break into your house and say, hey, we've got orders and we can break into your house. We can take your guns. And this is the reason why, and screw your Bill of Rights and Constitution. And it's like, okay. So they're going to find whatever that they have. They'll probably arrest you, at least put you in handcuffs until they find whatever they want, and then they'll leave. And who knows if they're going to take anything more than your guns. Say in your safe, you've got $5,000 in cash as a nest egg. Well, there goes your $5,000 of cash and all your guns. And all your guns are very expensive. Are they going to compensate you on what they just unlawfully took? No, they're not. So it's a very, I don't know, it's a very ludicrous situation about the red flag laws. And then imagine someone, I doubt, I have a feeling that whoever says that about you for that red flag law is like, you'll ask, okay, so who was the person that said that? May I inquire? And they're probably gonna say no. So you're never gonna know who said that. And so how do you know that someone actually said that? It's like, if they have it on record and you ask for who is it that considered me as not being I guess, responsible to own weapons or guns or say anything or whatever. And they say no one. It's like, well, then how do we know someone's actually said it? Because the transparency so far for the government has not been a very a thing. It hasn't been a thing. Transparency in the government, it hasn't been a thing. It hasn't been a thing for a long, long time. So who expects anyone to believe when authorities just come and say, hey, people said because of red flag law, you shouldn't have a gun. So we're going to take your guns. It's like, well, who said it? They go, well, I'm sorry. That's national security. You know, we can't let you know that because of national security. Because we don't want you to go and find a weapon and retaliate on that person. It's like, well, then I'm just going to say no one said anything, so I'm not going to take your word for it. So until you tell me, then too bad. I'm going to fight it. Anyways, it's just ridiculous. I think it's just to get people riled up, and I think people should be riled up. I think it's a good thing, not for like riled up to commit violence, just riled up to say, hey, this is what they're seriously thinking. Don't they got other things to worry about? There's plenty of things to worry about in this world, and you know what? Distractions. That's what they want you to worry about. The things that you shouldn't even need to worry about because it's so minor. They go, oh, all the other stuff that we're doing. The elite, the people who are on the inside, they go, we need to distract the American people and, you know, not let them focus on things that affect pretty much everybody. Let's just have them affect just a few people. Crack double figures, watch you. Wow, that's a rarity. I mean, if I break like 5 people, half digits, if that's even a thing, is 5 can't even be a half digit, so half double digits. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I mean, so what else is there that people are talking about? There's the red flag laws. There's something else related to it. Maybe someone could tell me about that. But I mean, look, it's I live in Columbus, Nebraska, okay? In all of Nebraska except for maybe Omaha, you can open carry. That means you can carry any type of weapon that you want, except for a few certain places, like I think public parks and schools and hospitals and things like that. You know, it's not like we were going in there for any reason at all. But I mean, you can pretty much, as long as you have your weapon displayed in your car, unless you have a concealed carry permit, you can open carry. I could just carry whatever guns I want in the public, and it's fine, right? No one's gonna do anything. It's not like I see anybody doing it. I don't even do it. You know why? Because it's freaking hot here. I'm not gonna carry a gun for no reason. There's no reason to carry a gun, but the option is there, and we have that option. And you know what? People are pretty good about it. And you go to Kansas. Now, in Nebraska, there are some laws about what you can buy, and you need a specific permit. Now, I have that permit, which I can show you. But pretty much, if you go to Kansas, and anyone from Nebraska could go to Kansas. In Kansas, you don't need any particular permit or license to buy a specific type of weapon in Kansas. You can buy anything you want. You don't even have to be from Kansas. They don't even look at anything. They just go, you want this? All right, here you go. They don't have specific rules where you have to show your gun when you're driving in a car. You don't have to have a concealed carry permit. You can conceal if you want. I mean, Kansas is probably like the freest of any state as far as gun laws. And yeah, you can just go ahead and drive. For me, driving an hour and a half ain't very far. I drive an hour and a half to go fishing at a specific spot. So pretty easy to get around gun laws from the state. Heck, even probably for federal. I mean, all these places that have very strict gun laws, they go, so how did this person get this type of gun? All right. It was that Charlie Hebdo in All right, let me just let me cover that up so you don't. I mean, people could find out where I live anyway. Ah, come on. All right, I'll use the high V. All right. Firearm purchase certificate, right? And this is in Columbus Police Department, State of Nebraska, issued 9/11/2018. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even go in there on 9/11. I think it's just when it was issued, right? So now I'm not limited to whatever I want to buy in the state of Nebraska. It's not hard. I mean, I don't really have wealth coming through at all, right? I'm just kind of living by what I've got left, and what happens after that, I don't know. But still, it's not like I'm gonna have a wealth of guns. I have guns for what I need. I've got a handgun, which I can conceal and carry if I get a conceal and carry permit, but I don't feel like I need to. I got a holster for it. I got plenty of magazines and ammo. I've got 2 shotguns. One is basically, they're both, I keep one around as for home defense, so I never take that one hunting. And I have one that I use specifically for hunting. And then I've got a 22, which is if I ever have to kill stupid rodents and stuff like that, if it's a problem, but it's more of just a practice target gun, plinking gun, whatever. And that's it. I mean, one day I want to get an actual battle rifle, like a 308 or something like that. I love the M1 Garand, but I need to be more practical. We'll see. But I mean, it's not like I want to have an armory. I mean, it's not like I can shoot all of them at once, right? It's like, here's to my wife. This is what you do. You pump it. You make sure the safety is not there when you're ready to fire, and you fire, and you need to go again. You pump it again. That's the shotgun for you. And then for me, I'd probably be carrying the shotgun and use slugs if I have to, and then the pistol. And that's pretty much it. It's not like I'm gonna need an armada. It's just to protect against whatever. If we have a war, I probably wouldn't even be in the front lines. I'd probably be handling stupid technology stuff because no one else knows technology. And then the strategy part, yeah, but who's going to want to listen to an Asian guy who just talks about strategy and technology all day? Probably not. So, I'm pretty much going to say, hey, you guys are idiots. I mean, if you guys want to win, you guys don't do it that way. That's just dumb. And then if they listen, then that's a good thing, right? But then if it is my plan, heck, I will be in the front lines. If it's my plan, I'll be in the front lines. But if I don't regard it as a good strategy, yeah, look, it's dying for something is better than dying for nothing. I'll just say that. All right, let's talk more about chat. Let's see what's going on there, which is a lot of people have a lot to say about this topic, it seems. Let's go and sorry, I wasn't looking at the chat at all. Cloud Alley. Since we live in a republic, democracy doesn't work with red flag law. Liberty might not be popular with so-called majority. Maybe. I don't think the majority get represented very well. I mean, it's very difficult for the majority to be represented because there's just so many of them. Minorities are pretty easy to represent because there's just not a lot of minorities to present things, right? Let's see. Hey, Kathy B, how's it going? Let's see. Port Film Co-op, does Ebon know about super chats? Yeah, I think I've only gotten 2 super chats before, and I need to remember their names. But most of the time, I don't get super chats. I mean, I pretty much read whatever you guys want to say. It doesn't even matter if it's super chat or not. Let me see super chats. Do I have it? Oh, maybe it's on topic. Super chats. Oh man, I know I have it somewhere. Oh, images. Okay. There's been 2 people who've given me super chats ever. Yuya Nemoto for $2 and Rani Foshi $5. I know those 2 people who've given me super chats because those are the only 2 people who've ever given me super chats. But I appreciate people just joining in. It's more important than the super chat. I just like to have people have conversations because I think people need an outlet. I think people really want to talk about it, and sometimes they just can't because they're just judged by what they say, and the people who judge them just won't hear them out afterwards. It's already done. Okay, Kathy B. Some old guns, rifles don't have to be registered. Navy Colt 7.7 Jap, for example. I don't know. Some guns don't have to be registered at all. If you're in the state of Kansas, I don't think you have to register them at all. I think you do in Nebraska. I have to double check. I have not bought a gun since I lived in Nebraska. I've bought all my guns in the state of Massachusetts, which is a very strict state as far as gun ownership. And to have all my guns bought in Massachusetts and none in Nebraska or in Kansas tells you something, right? Okay. Cloud Alley, 99% of us are fine left to our own liberties. Yep. We need critical thinking. It will be difficult to stop some guns with 3D printers too. I've seen some people printing out stuff with 3D printers. I know I've heard and seen some of the videos where they state that they made them pretty good, that they're reliable enough to shoot like at least 100 or so rounds. And that's pretty good. I mean, imagine being able to make something out of whatever plastic polymer. Don't have to clean it. You just keep printing them out. It's like, I don't want to clean this. I think part of the problem might be with 3D printed guns is cleaning them, and just they're rigid. Like they need to be flexible enough and rigid enough in certain points. I don't know, but it's interesting to know what you can do with 3D printers. Navy Colt is ball and powder, but is lethal. Yeah, there's still a lot of stuff where it's just like the muskets. Like people still hunt with muskets, and it's actually more challenging. It's actually funner for a lot of people, and those muskets they'll take down some of the big games, and if they can take down big games, they can take down humans. I'm sorry, I'm kind of way behind. What? Sent one earlier? Oh my goodness, you did. Port Film Co-op, $2. Plug my 4 Centrist Film podcast, Meatbone Express. I need a screenshot you, and thank you. You are added to the list of very rare people who super chat on my program, or whatever this is called. Let me make sure I save it. Topic and images and port film co. I need to take a look at that. Let me just double check. Plug for my Centrist Film podcast, Meatbone Express. Do you have a... Let me look at it. Is that like on YouTube? Let me just double check. Why is my notepad not there? All right, sorry. I missed it. All right. We need critical thinking. There are state gun laws and there are federal laws. Cloud Alley shy. They're talking about making knives legal. Kathy B, U.S. standard issue was 30-06. My father preferred to blow his brains out with that one, I guess. Oh, sorry about that, Kathy. Yeah, a lot of people who die from guns is suicide, which is don't know what to say about that, actually. We need critical thinking. 22s are great because the bullets are cheap. Yeah, I think they've gotten a little bit more expensive, though. Kathy B, that was in 1979. I grew up eating wild games, so no, I'm not against guns. Cloud Alley, I might crawl back in my cave and listen to a radio. We need critical thinking. Oh, just Kathy, sorry. Yeah, it was it all right? Kurt Cooper, common law, your thoughts? Let's get back to common law in a bit, okay? Let's, yep, Port Film Co-op. I sent one earlier. I saw it, yeah. Let me look at that Meatbone Express. If it's porn, I don't know what I can say about that, but let's see. Meatbone Express podcast. I see it on Vimeo. Mike Redder? Let's see. Meatbone Express podcast, Google. You've got a lot. So I am gonna post that on Restream so people can go to it, check out Meatbone Express. Please let me know if that's correct there. Port Film Co-op. All right, now let's see. Oh, you guys are typing fast. You know, Kurt Cooper, what are your thoughts about common law? I mean, you don't need to just listen to me. Let's see. Kathy B, had he not been through that fucked up war, maybe he wouldn't have. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people who live through trauma is most likely, you know, people who've had to kill other people. And not necessarily people who deserved it, but people they probably think didn't deserve it. That's probably what kills them the most. And they go, for what? And, you know, if they start looking and thinking about just what they're fighting for, is that exactly what they thought it was good? And they realized, no, they were naive. They were young. They just believed in the authorities and that they were doing the right thing. And probably later on, they realized, nope, they weren't doing the right thing. And that's got to get at people more so than if, you know, just the killing part. It's like, yeah, that's probably the hardest part, I would say. Let's see. Port Film Co-op. I discovered this channel while searching for Carrie Mullis. Carrie Mullis. I'm going to have to look for that. Who's Carrie Mullis and why did you get here from searching Carrie Mullis? It's funny how we find each other, isn't it? American biochemist. That's weird. You may have to come on one day and just tell me that story. Yeah, third one of all time. Super chat. Kathy B, my dad was a pipe fitter on Mad Anthony, exposed to asbestos, and ship went to Nagasaki. He had 6 terminal illnesses at age 53. Ouch. And my brothers and I have been somehow exposed to excessive radiation. My eldest brother died from end-stage neurological failure. It's in our DNA. That's not good, Kathy. It's yeah, it's hard to justify a lot of things that go on in this world, and everyone else feels the repercussions of it, the vibrations, just like the ripples. I would say, something happens, people are affected by the ripples of whatever goes on, and we understand that because most of us are the recipients of those ripples. A lot of stuff that went on in the 20th century, most of us here that are pretty much old enough talking about all the current events and past events, we are the recipients of all the ripples that occurred during that time. And we realized that if we keep doing the same thing, well, the ones who are younger than us, the younger generations, they're going to be the recipients of the ripples that we that we end up creating. So we don't want to create those ripples. We don't want to have them experience all those things that we had to go through. And so we want to do things differently. And that's the difficult part. How are we going to do things differently? And what were we doing that we weren't doing? And what should we be doing that we should have been doing that we didn't do that were previously? I know times, if you want to call it that time, things change. Change is pretty constant, and things, of course, will need to be adjusted in certain amounts. But it's what are we like? I like to think of it this way. Throughout written history, the history that we know now, and that's presented to us, whether we think it's true or not, people have died countless times being martyrs or whatever, and it's typically because of freedom. They want to be free, and the ones who are killing them are the ones who are saying, no, you are enslaved to us. You have to follow us, and if you don't follow us, we're going to kill you. And you've got the opposition going, well, we don't like that idea. I mean, we're going to die anyway. You know, live our entire life having to listen to you and be your slaves. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a good deal. So, yeah, let's fight. And, they sacrifice their lives so their kids don't have to be born into this slave system that they were born into. We're born into a system that we never had a say in. If you think about that, in every case, every generation, every person, everybody, you're all born into a system where you had no say into the system that you want to be living in. I mean, there are certain things you can do, like you can move. Like if you're born in Iraq, or you're born in China, or like in my case, my parents were born in South Korea. They moved to the United States. They go, hey, things are better over here. People are free and you can do a whole bunch of things. People who were born in the U.S., some people moved to Canada. They moved to Mexico, wherever. You can at least do that. But as far as the world system that we are seeing now, we didn't have any say to it. And we can't move anywhere because it's the same everywhere else. In actuality, if you live in the United States of America, it's worse anywhere else. So we're at that stage where we're pretty much the last bastion of hope for freedom, and like real actual freedom, where the people dictate what we can say and what we could do, what we can have, and we don't let others, whether they say they're authority or that if they are authority, they have no right. That's the United States Constitution. We give no person, no entity, not even government, the authority to do things that are stated here within the Bill of Rights and etc. So it's amazing, folks. Let's see. Let's keep going for a little bit longer. I would probably stay longer. I'm sweating like a dog because it's like 100% humidity in the basement. It's probably like 85 degrees, and the water in my cup is filled with stupid gnats, so I don't want to drink gnats. All right, let's see. Yeah, it's a ripple that hurts like hell, but we're survivors here. Claude Alley, yep. Kathy B, survival isn't living. Yeah, living is all there is. Well, you may be right, but what's the purpose? Yeah. So you know what? I think this is a good way to end. We can go ahead and talk more about this. No, Kathy, it's good to vent. I'm glad that I'm here and others are here where you can go and vent. And I think certain platforms out there, certain shows, I think it's there are places to vent. You're here, you can vent. You can vent to me, and I get it. I do my venting too. It's not really a vent because I'm pretty much just look. Things happen, and you roll with it, right? and then you're at an impasse. Like, you had to make a choice. How do you want to handle the situation? You can handle it like this person has handled it before. You can handle it like this person has handled it before. You can handle it like these people who have handled it, or you could just handle it your own way. Is there a different way you can handle it? Yeah. And no person is the same, and that's the thing. I think we're trying to see in society for a lot of people to really conform. That's been pushed for decades. Conform. And then a lot of us are going, no, we don't want to, we don't have to, and we're not going to. And they have to push, right? If they want conformity, they have to push conformity. And the only way to get it is to actually keep going and forcing people to. All right, thank you, Kathy B. I feel safe here, not so much elsewhere. It's safe elsewhere. Port Film Co-op, thanks. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. And tomorrow night, tomorrow at 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. is Consortium News. They do a weekly show, and I hope to do their technical live stream part. There's an interview you may listen to. It's probably even Joe Laurie and Elizabeth Ross. They're probably 180 degrees from where I'm at, but that's fine. They can say whatever they want to say. They can disagree with me. That's fine. I've got my stance. I got my saying. They got their stance. They got their saying. That's the whole beauty of free speech, the First Amendment, folks. You got your beliefs. I've got mine. People have whatever they want to say. I'll say whatever I want to say. We don't limit each other. That's agreed upon. That's it. That's how we progress. It's not like I could read other people's minds or they can read mine. We have to say what we want to say. Otherwise, it's not going to get heard. And when it is heard, then we could discuss more about that when it's heard. But when you shut down discussion of any form, that's not good. That's when people get violent, actually. When people are saying one thing and no one listens to them, no one cares, and that person actually gets violent. Or the other side, it's like a minority saying, we're doing this, and no matter what you say or do, we're still going to do it. And then there you go. It's kind of shut down the conversation. That's where things get violent. That's where we talk things through, right? I mean, just think about every situation you've been in. Why don't you guys just relax, take a deep breath, take some time off, come back the next day, talk it over, right? Things get better that way. It's not like, hey, everyone go get your guns, last man standing. They're right. We know might isn't right. But right. All right. I keep going on. All right, so that's Consortium News tomorrow, and next week they're gonna change the format which is awesome. I had to pick my kid up around 3:15. So instead of and the show usually ends at 3, and sometimes it goes over. So they're gonna start that's Central Time. I should say 4 p.m. Eastern, 4:15 Eastern Time is when I usually pick up my kids. So they're changing the schedule from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time next week, not tomorrow. And if they go over a little bit, that's fine. I can still be there to pick up my daughter. And on Friday nights, I have political talk nights. I used to do that a lot, and I stopped. So I'm dedicating political talk on Fridays, mostly Friday nights. So join me then, and we segue off quite often. So it may start off with politics, but it may segue into something totally random. So feel free to join in. Plenty of times when I'm doing these live streams, I have the Zoom link so people can come in and talk about the subject. Sometimes I had open forums, like open topics, so you could talk about anything, and that's happened. I don't know, because my viewership has gotten a lot lower, so there's not a lot of people that really participate. So I don't really do that anymore. If things change and more people want to participate, things may change. But thank you for Meatbone Express is YouTube. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Tomorrow there's gonna be a lot of stuff. Sometime next week, I'll go over The Doors of Perception by Aldous Huxley. Because I'm reading through that, and I'm also reading that his experience with LSD was much more powerful than his mescaline trip and whole bunch of other things. So I am kind of want to read more into that, and I just kind of want to do a really good summary of it, because I know people don't want to read like the 23 pages of whatever it is from back in the 50s, but 1953 I think. But I mean, the guy who wrote A Brave New World, it's a lot like A Brave New World today, and also very similar to George Orwell's 1984. So what got him to think about how things were going to be with A Brave New World? Was it because of his mescaline trips, or was it because of his LSD trips? What is it? What can we find in there? All right, so thank you for joining me, and we'll see you another night.